Hi, my name is Odegaard, and this is my welcome video for English to 11 Creative Writing Poetry. This video is going to have two parts. The first part is just a snapshot of what do you have to get done this week for the class. And the second part of the video, I'll go a little bit more in depth introducing myself and tell you a little bit about some of the goals that I want to accomplish with this class, mainly for you, what kind of goals I want you to accomplish with this class. Okay, so let's get started. First thing to talk about is the textbook. Our textbook is called In the Palm of Your Hand. It's by Steve Cowett. I like this textbook a lot. I recommend that you get a hold of it as soon as you can because we're going to be doing writing exercises out of this textbook. There's plenty of them, and this textbook can help you kind of appreciate poetry. It can help you understand poetry, but most of all, it can help you write poetry. So you're going to want to get your hands on that as soon as possible. The other thing I wanted to talk about is what I'm looking forward to in this class. I'm looking forward to everything about this class because this is a little bit of one of my kind of pet projects or passion projects. And I'm looking forward to what you have to say about the poems in the textbook. I'm looking forward to what you have to say about poetry in general. I'm looking forward to what you write about, what you're interested in, how you express yourself, how to sort of grow as a poet and find your voice. There's all kinds of things that I'm really interested in when it comes to this class. And then as far as what to get done this week, I would say it's three main things. One, you want to take a look at the syllabus and the course schedule. That's just a matter of reading it over so that you're familiar with the policies in the class, what are the major assignments, because there's a description of each of those in the syllabus, and also the course schedule will kind of tell you what your workload is going to look like, roughly speaking, over the course of the semester. And then I would also say that there's two kind of assignments to get done this week, and that would be the icebreaker activity, which is where you go out and look for a poem and that really moves you, or it could be a song, as long as you focus on the lyrics, that really moves you, and post it and kind of do a little explanation of why is this poem so moving to you. I have an example on that discussion board, on the on the icebreaker board. The other assignment would be the first discussion board called What is Poetry, or or Let's Talk About Poetry, something like that. And it's just, I came up with a few questions to just get the ball rolling to talk about poetry, and you get to pick 2 out of the 5. I also did include the video of Amanda Gorman reading her poem, The Hill We Climb, during President Biden's inauguration. But if you're not really moved by that poem, if it doesn't speak to you, you certainly don't have to answer that question. You can respond to a couple of the other questions. So that's everything for this first week that you need to know. And so this is the official end of part 1 of the video. You can stop now. Part 2. You're still here. Awesome. Again, my name is Eric Odegaard. You can call me Eric. You can call me Professor O. You can call me Mr. O. I'm not a doctor, so you can't call me Dr. O. But any of those terms work for me. What else do I want to say about myself in this class? So, as I said before, this is a pet project of mine. It took me many years to get this class on the books, and I'm really glad that we're finally able to offer this specific class. Mainly because when I transferred, I started out at Mount Sac and I transferred to Cal State Fullerton, and I think maybe even before then, sort of my interest in poetry was there, and I've been kind of gravitating towards poetry more and more, and that's just something that I wrote a lot about when I was taking classes. I would, if given the chance, somebody said write about a play or a poem or a novel or a poem, I tended to write about poetry, and I think that's kind of unusual because I think a lot of people have, for lack of a better term, a fear of poetry, and or they think that there's kind of somehow there's a wall around poetry that you either get it or you don't get it. And one of my goals in this class is to kind of break that down, is to try to suggest that maybe not logical thinking, or it doesn't reflect the reality of the fact that I think there's a spectrum of appreciation. I think on the one hand, obviously you can read a poem and kind of go, I don't get this at all, and you get frustrated by it. But on the other hand, what's weird to me is that people don't do the same thing with like paintings. You look at a painting, and a painting it's a piece of art, and we aren't necessarily trying to go, oh, what does that mean? And I get that, you know, poetry is made out of language, and so it causes us to do different things. But I think we should be looking at poetry more like the way that we look at visual art, and that is, it's a thing. It's an experience. You're either moved by that painting or you're not moved by that painting. Anyway, I'm going to get into that. This method. How does one do that? I'm going to get into that the further we get into the class. That's sort of one of my goals with this class. The other goal that I have for this class is to help you find your voice and help you express yourself in such a way that is both kind of interesting for the reader, but also kind of convey something important that you want to express. And I think that's an important part of this class, this idea of you've got all these ideas in your head, you've got all these thoughts, and how do you get them down on paper, and how do you put them together in such a way that readers will understand and appreciate them. That's a hefty task, but that's what I think we should be trying to do with this class. I'm going to go over all of this stuff that I just went over and more in more detail, mainly the syllabus. I'm going to go over in more detail during our first conference, which is going to be on Thursday. The conferences will usually happen on Tuesdays. I'm not going to be having conferences on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that should be good news to you. But this week, because the week kind of starts in the middle, I'm going to have the first conference on Thursday at 11:30. I'm not using Zoom. I'm using this tool called the Conferences tab. It's already embedded in Canvas. So we're going to use that tool for the first conference, which is going to be on Thursday at 11:30. And the conference is only going to last for an hour. And then after that, it'll just be on Tuesdays. And then I'll explain more of how the class is going to run during that first conference. Okay? Last thing to say, if you have any questions about anything, no matter how small it is, my job is to make sure that you understand the assignments that I've put on in the class and that you understand how to complete them. No question is too small. I'm really open to answering anything. Thanks for listening. Bye.